The cold wind whipped through the trees as the small ship crashed to the ground with a loud bang. The ship, a beautiful silver vessel, had fallen from the sky and now lay broken on the forest floor. Inside, the only passenger stirred. Her name was Alara, and she was an alien princess from a faraway galaxy. Once she had lived a life full of luxury and power, but now all of that was gone. Alara's head spun as she tried to sit up. The ship was in ruins, and smoke filled the air. She could feel the weight of the disaster pressing down on her. Everything had gone wrong. Her people were at war, and she had barely escaped with her life. The ship had been damaged during her flight, and now it was destroyed. She stumbled out of the wreckage, her legs shaky beneath her. Her pale blue skin was scratched, and her long silver hair hung loosely around her shoulders. Alara was beautiful, but her beauty felt out of place in this foreign world. Everything was strange here. The air was different, the sounds were strange, and the ground was rough beneath her feet. This was Earth, a planet she had only heard of in stories. Her thoughts were filled with panic. She had no way to contact her people, no way to repair her ship, and no way to survive on this planet. The only thing she had was her desperate need for help. As she wandered through the forest, Alara's eyes fell on a small house in the distance. It looked simple, humble, and far away from the grand city she was used to. She could hear the sounds of animals in the distance and the soft rustling of trees. She knew she couldn't survive alone in the forest. She needed shelter. With a last burst of strength, Alara walked toward the house. She reached the door and knocked gently. The wood felt rough under her delicate hands. She could hear footsteps from inside, and soon the door opened to reveal a human man. He was tall and looked kind, but his eyes widened with surprise when he saw her. Who are you?" the man asked, his voice shaky but curious. "I am Alara," she said, her voice soft and strained. "I come from far away. My ship, it crashed. I have no place to go. Please, I beg of you, please let me stay." The man looked at her for a moment, his face a mixture of confusion and concern. Alara could see the hesitation in his eyes. She was an alien, after all. Her appearance was unlike anything he had seen before. But her eyes were full of fear, and her voice was filled with desperation. I can't let you stay here," the man said, though his voice softened. "Don't even know who you are, and I'm not sure how I can help." Lara's heart sank. She was an alien. She knew that humans didn't often trust things they didn't understand, but she had no other choice. She couldn't survive on her own. "Please," Alara said again, her voice trembling. "I have nothing. No family, no home, no way to survive. I am willing to serve you. I will work. I can cook, clean, anything you need. Just please, let me stay." The man seemed taken aback. His expression softened as he looked at her. There was something about her, something that made him hesitate. He had never seen anyone like her, but there was a sadness in her eyes that made him feel sorry for her. "I don't know," he began, but then paused. "I don't want to leave you out here in the cold. Fine, you can stay for a little while. But only if you promise to help with the chores around here. I have a small farm, and I could use some help." Alara's eyes lit up with gratitude. She nodded eagerly. "I promise. I will do anything you ask." The man stepped aside, allowing her to enter his home. It was small, but warm. There was a fire crackling in the hearth, and the smell of cooked food filled the air. Alara felt a strange sense of relief as she stepped inside, away from the cold. "I'm Alex," the man said as he closed the door behind her. "I wasn't expecting company, but I guess we'll make do. I'll get you something to eat." Alara smiled weakly, feeling a little more at ease. She was no longer alone, but this place felt so different from her former life. She was used to grand halls, servants at her command, and a life of luxury. Now, she was just a stranger in a small house, asking for help. As Alex went to the kitchen, Alara took a seat by the fire. She watched the flames flicker, lost in thought. How had it all come to this? From a princess to a servant, from a powerful leader to a stranger begging for shelter. but she would not let herself break. She would survive. She would do what was necessary to stay alive. And maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to rebuild her life here, on Earth. When Alex returned, he handed her a bowl of soup. It was simple, but Alara was grateful. She ate quietly, not wanting to speak too much. She didn't want to burden him with her past. Alex sat down across from her, studying her. "Where did you come from?" he asked gently. "Story?" Alara hesitated. She didn't want to tell him everything, not yet. "I am from a faraway place," she said softly. "I was forced to leave. My ship crashed. Now I am here." Alex nodded, sensing that she wasn't ready to share more. He understood. "Well, you're safe here for now, but we'll need to figure out what to do next. We can't stay hidden forever." Lara nodded, though she didn't have an answer. She had no idea what came next, only that for the moment. She had found a small bit of safety. She had pleaded for help, and Alex had taken her in. But Alara knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Her life had changed forever. As she finished her meal, Alara felt a strange mix of emotions. I'd found refuge in the most unlikely of places. And although she had come here seeking shelter, she couldn't help but wonder what the future held for her in this strange new world. The days passed slowly for Alara in the small, humble home of Alex. At first, everything seemed so new, so strange to her. Earth was unlike anything she had imagined. The sky was a dull shade of blue, unlike the bright purple skies of her home planet. The air smelled different, and the sounds of the wind were harsh against her ears. She missed the peace of her own world, but she couldn't go back. She had nowhere else to turn. The house was simple but cozy, with a small fire in the hearth that Alex kept burning throughout the night. It was a relief to Alara, who had come from a world of grandeur. Back home, she lived in a palace where everything was taken care of for her. She was always surrounded by servants and advisors, never having to do much of anything herself. She was alone in a strange land, with only Alex to guide her. Alex had promised to let her stay, but he had also made it clear that she would have to help. He had a small farm outside where he grew vegetables and raised a few animals. Alara's first task was to gather firewood from the forest. She had never done anything like that before. Her planet, the work was always done by others. Yet, here, she had no choice. She walked into the forest early one morning with an armful of clothes Alex had given her. The fabric was rough against her alien skin, and it felt strange to wear something so simple. She had always worn fine silk-like materials, but now she wore something that didn't even feel like it belonged to her. She tried not to think about it. The forest was quiet, with only the sounds of birds and the wind in the trees. Alara looked around, feeling both lost and out of place. The trees were so different from what she was used to, and the cold air made her skin tingle. She knew she had to focus on the task at hand. With some effort, Alara gathered the wood she needed, though. It took longer than she expected. She was unfamiliar with the process, and her arms were sore from the effort. After a few hours, she returned to the house, feeling frustrated. When Alex saw her struggling with the wood, he offered to help, but she refused. "I can do it myself," she said, though she was exhausted. She didn't want to appear weak in front of him. She had once been a princess, and she wanted to hold on to whatever dignity she had left. As the days went on, Alara continued to struggle. She had to learn how to cook, how to clean, and how to do everything on her own. She tried her best, but it wasn't easy. The food didn't taste the way it did on her home world. The cleaning was more difficult than she had imagined, and the chores never seemed to end. One afternoon, Alara stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup. The ingredients were simple, vegetables and water, but no matter what she did, the taste didn't come out right. For Alex, but it was nothing like the meals she used to have. She felt a wave of frustration wash over her. She had once been admired by many, but here she was just a servant, unable to do even the simplest things. Alex noticed her struggle, came into the kitchen looking concerned. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're doing fine. It's just going to take time." Alara didn't respond. She had never had to work this hard in her life. The weight of her situation felt heavy on her shoulders. "I'm sorry," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know how to do this?" Alex smiled warmly. "That's all right. We all start somewhere." Elara looked at him, her blue eyes softening. She had never seen someone so kind. On her world, people often looked at her with awe, as though she were untouchable. But Alex didn't treat her that way. He treated her like a person, not a princess. And that was something Elara wasn't sure how to handle. As the weeks passed, Lara began to adjust to life on Earth. The work became a little easier, and she found herself getting better at the chores. She learned how to cook meals that didn't taste terrible, how to clean the house, and how to care for the animals on the farm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was her new reality. And though it was hard, there was a part of her that began to appreciate the simple life. One afternoon, Elara was out in the fields, working with Alex to harvest the vegetables. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The golden light made the world seem peaceful. For the first time since her crash, Elara felt a sense of calm wash over her. She wasn't sure what the future held, but in that moment, she was content. Alex worked beside her, never asking for anything in return. He never treated her like an outsider, even though she was so different from everyone he knew. He treated her like she was part of his world, and that was something Elara hadn't expected. "Alex," she said softly, her voice hesitant, "why are you helping me?" He looked up from his work, meeting her gaze. "Because you need help," he said simply, "and because it's the right thing to do." Elara stared at him for a moment, trying to understand his words. He didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't expect her to be a servant or to owe him anything. It simply offered her kindness, and that was something she hadn't experienced in a long time. For the first time since her crash, Elara smiled. It wasn't a smile of sadness or desperation, but one of genuine appreciation. She'd been given a chance, a new beginning, and though it was hard, she knew that she could survive. She could adapt. She was no longer the princess she had once was, but she was still Elara, and that was enough. Weeks turned into months, and life on Earth slowly became less strange for Elara. She had settled into a routine, learning the ways of the humans. She still missed her home, the grandeur of her planet, and the palace she had once lived in. Every day, she found herself growing more accustomed to the quiet life Alex had shown her. Alex had been patient with her. He never asked too much, never pushed her to do more than she was able. He taught her how to care for the small farm, how to cook meals, and how to navigate the world of humans. He showed her how to fix the roof when it leaked, and how to make sure the animals were well fed. Elara had become more capable, but still there was a part of her that longed for the power and respect she had once had. She had been a princess, after all. One evening, as the sun began to set, Elara stood on the porch, watching the sky turn orange and pink. The world around her was quiet, peaceful, but in her heart there was a storm. She was grateful for Alex's kindness, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for more than this life. She was an alien princess, and though her world had fallen apart, she still had the strength within her. "Alex," she called softly, her voice carrying on the breeze. Alex had been working in the barn, came out to join her. "What is it?" he asked, his eyes scanning her face. Elara took a deep breath. "I don't think I can keep doing this forever." Alex's brow furrowed in concern. "What do you mean?" "I mean this life. I'm not just a servant, Alex. I was once a leader, a ruler of my people. I know I'm not that person anymore, but I still feel like I should be doing something more." Alex listened quietly. He had never truly understood the weight of Elara's past. He had known she was from somewhere far away, but he hadn't realized how much her old life still haunted her. He stepped closer to her, his expression softening. "You've been through a lot," Alex said gently. "And I'm not saying you shouldn't want more, but you've been through a lot of pain, maybe. It's time to heal first." Elara turned away from him, her eyes distant. She didn't know if healing was enough. She didn't know if she could ever heal from losing everything she had once known. She had been a princess, a ruler, admired by her people, and now she was living in a small house, working the land like any ordinary person. I don't know if I can, she said quietly, her voice filled with sorrow. I don't know if I can ever be the person I once was. Alex placed a hand on her shoulder, offering what comfort he could. Maybe you don't have to be the same person. You're different now, and that's okay. You're stronger than... You think, Alara? Alara looked at him, his words stirring something deep inside her. Was she stronger? The thought had never occurred to her. She had always seen herself as fragile, broken. But Alex had seen something in her that she hadn't seen in herself. Maybe there was more to her than she realized. The next few days were filled with a quiet determination. Alara began to take on more responsibility around the house, pushing herself to learn new things and improve. She was no longer content to simply exist in the background. She had a fire inside her that she couldn't ignore anymore. She spent more time in the barn, working with the animals, and even ventured into the nearby town to trade some of the crops she had helped grow. She was still the same person. She was learning to embrace the strength within her, the princess she had once been might be gone, but she was starting to see that she could be something else, a leader in her own way, even if it wasn't the same as before. One afternoon, as Alara worked in the field, she saw a group of travelers pass by. On the road, they were on horseback, their clothes rough and worn. Alara froze when she saw them. Something about them seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. Alex, who had been tending to the animals nearby, also looked up at the travelers. They're just passing through, he said, but there was a warning in his voice. They might be trouble. Alara watched as they approached, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a strange sense of recognition, though she couldn't explain why. The group was heading straight for Alex's property, and Alara's mind raced. She had to do something. She couldn't let them take Alex's land, his home. Without thinking, Alara moved toward the travelers. She wasn't sure what she was going to do, but she felt an urgency, a sense of power she hadn't known she still had. As she approached, the travelers stopped. They eyed her warily. Who are you? One of them asked, his voice gruff. I'm Alara, she said, her voice steady and calm. And this is my land. You will not take anything from here. The travelers exchanged looks, confused. They didn't know who she was, but there was something about her that made them hesitate. We're just passing through, the leader of the group said, his eyes narrowing. We don't want trouble. Alara stood tall, the fire inside her burning brighter. Then leave. This land is protected. The travelers didn't argue. They turned their horses and left without another word. As they rode off, Alara breathed. A sigh of relief. She had done it. She had protected something. For the first time in a long while, she felt like herself again. The strength she had thought was lost inside her was still there. It had been waiting for the right moment to come out. When she returned to Alex, he was standing by the barn, watching her. His expression was filled with surprise and admiration. You did that, he said, a small smile on his face. You stood up to them. Alara nodded slowly. I'm not just a servant, Alex. I may have lost everything, but I still have the strength inside me to protect what I care about. Alex's smile grew. I never doubted you. And for the first time since her crash, Alara realized that maybe she didn't need to be the princess she once was. She didn't need the power or the title. What she had now, strength, courage, and the ability to protect those she cared about was. Enough. Alara was not broken. She was more than she had ever realized. It had been a few weeks since Alara had stood up to the travelers who tried to take Alex's land. The simple life she had once thought was impossible was slowly starting to feel like home. She had become stronger, not just in her mind, but also in her heart. Her confidence grew with each passing day, and so did her bond with Alex. He had always been patient and understanding. But now, he saw her for who she really was, a survivor. And as much as Alara had begun to trust in the quiet life they had built together, she couldn't escape the nagging feeling that her past would one day catch up with her. One night, as Alara and Alex sat by the fire inside the house, there was a sound outside, a rustle in the trees. At first, Alara thought it was just the wind, but the noise grew louder. She stood up, feeling the familiar pull of urgency inside her. Do you hear that? Alara asked Alex, her voice tense. Alex froze. He listened carefully. It's probably just some animals, he said, though his tone lacked the usual certainty. I'll check it out. But Alara's instincts told her it was something more. She had faced danger before, and she knew the sound of footsteps in the night. She grabbed his arm, her grip stronger than usual. No, Alex. Please listen to me. Something is wrong. Before Alex could respond, a loud crash echoed from the woods. Then came the voices, low, guttural, and speaking a language Alara recognized all too well. Her heart sank as the realization hit. They had come. There. Here, Alara whispered, her voice filled with dread. Alex turned to her, his eyes wide with confusion. Who? The ones who chased me. The ones who want to capture me. At those words, Alara's body tensed. She had hoped they wouldn't follow her, that she could leave her past behind. But now, it was clear they had tracked her down to Earth. The door to the house suddenly flew open, and a group of tall, menacing figures entered. Their alien features were sharp and angular, their bodies covered in dark armor that glowed faintly in the dim light. Alara's heart pounded as they stepped inside, their eyes fixed on her. Princess Alara, one of them said, his voice cold and commanding. You can run, but you cannot hide. The Emperor wants you back. Alex stepped forward, blocking Alara. What do you want with her? He demanded, his voice firm but laced with fear. The leader of the group sneered. This is not your concern. Human, step aside. But Alex didn't move. His loyalty to Alara had grown in the time they'd spent together, and he wasn't about to let these aliens take her without a fight. Alara placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but urgent. Alex, get back. You don't understand what they're capable of. The leader of the group chuckled darkly. You don't know what we're capable of either. The air in the room seemed to freeze, and Alara felt a wave of panic rush through her. These were no ordinary enemies. They were from her past, from a world where power and fear ruled. They had come to capture her, and this time, she wasn't sure she could escape. Why are you here? Alara asked, her voice steady, though her mind raced. She had to protect Alex. She couldn't let them take him. 2. Your family has ordered your return, the alien leader said, stepping closer. The Emperor needs you. You are not safe here. Why didn't you let me live in peace? Alara asked, her voice rising. Why couldn't you just leave me alone? The alien leader looked at her with disdain. You were a fool to think you could escape your destiny. You belong to us, princess. You always will. Alex took a step back, his hand resting on the handle of a tool he had kept nearby. Alara could see the fear in his eyes, but he was trying to be strong for her. She felt a surge of protectiveness toward him, and a fire ignited inside her. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Alex, and she wasn't going to let anyone hurt him. Not again. Get out, Lara shouted, her voice sharp with authority. This is my home now, and you will not take me back to that life. I refuse. The aliens laughed. You cannot refuse, princess. The Emperor's orders are final. Alara's anger flared, and she stepped forward, her hands raised. In that moment, she realized that she still held power, even without her title. Her alien abilities were still within hers. She just needed to find the strength to use them. Suddenly, a burst of energy shot from her palms, striking the leader of the alien group. He stumbled back, shocked by the force of her power. The other aliens reacted quickly, pulling out their weapons and aiming them at her. Alex jumped in front of Alara, shielding her from the incoming fire. Run, he shouted. I'll hold them off. No, Alara cried, grabbing his arm. We have to fight together. The aliens advanced, but Alara was ready. With a deep breath, she tapped into her hidden strength, using her powers to push back the attackers. She wasn't a helpless servant anymore. She was Alara, and she would fight to protect what she had built. The energy from her palms surged again, knocking 2 of the aliens off their feet. Alex, though nervous, grabbed a nearby metal rod and swung it at the remaining enemies. He was holding his own, but it was clear that they couldn't defeat the aliens like this. We need to get to the barn, Alara said urgently. It's the only place we can make a stand. They turned and ran toward the barn, Alara using her abilities to block the incoming fire. The aliens followed, their footsteps heavy in the dirt. But Alara and Alex reached the barn first. As the door slammed shut behind them, Alara turned to Alex, panting. "We're not safe yet, but we'll fight together." Alex nodded, his eyes full of determination. "I won't let them take you, Alara. I promise." And in that moment, Alara knew that no matter what happened, she wouldn't face this fight alone. She had Alex by her side, and together they would defend their home, their future, and their freedom. Alara's heart raced as she and Alex barricaded themselves inside the barn. The door slammed shut, but she knew it wouldn't hold the aliens for long. The sound of their heavy footsteps drew closer, and she could hear their low voices as they prepared to break in. "Alex," Alara said, her voice tight with urgency, "we can't fight them like this. We need a plan." Alex stood beside her, gripping the metal rod he had taken from the barn's tools. "What do you suggest?" he asked, his voice steady but with an undercurrent of fear. "Can't just wait for them to come in and take us." Alara closed her eyes, thinking quickly. The aliens outside were powerful, and they had the advantage of advanced technology. But she still had her own abilities, the ones she had been learning to control over the past few weeks. It wasn't enough to defeat them all at once, but perhaps it was enough to give them a chance to escape. "I can create a barrier," she said, opening her eyes and looking at Alex. "But it will only last for a short time. We have to move fast." Alex nodded, his face filled with determination. "Then let's do it." Alara focused, drawing on the power inside her. She had always been taught to control her abilities, but in her past life they had been used only for battle and dominance. Now, on Earth, she needed them for survival. Her hands glowed faintly as she gathered the energy within her, and with a sharp breath, she released it. A force field formed around them, a shimmering barrier that stretched from one side of the barn to the other. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to keep the aliens out for a while. Alara could feel the strain on her body as the energy drained from her. But she didn't have time to rest. "This should hold them off for a little while," she said, stepping back. "Now, we need to get out of here." Alex looked around the barn. There was a small window high on the wall, just big enough for them to squeeze through. It was their only way out. "We'll go out through the window," Alex said, looking at Alara. "I'll go first. You follow." Alara nodded, her mind racing. She had to protect Alex. He had been there for her when she needed him most, and she wasn't about to let anything happen to him. With quick movements, Alex climbed up to the window and pushed it open. Alara followed closely behind her body. Still tired from using her powers, she could hear the aliens outside pounding on the barrier, trying to break through. But for now, they were safe. Alex jumped down first, landing softly on the ground below. Alara followed, but as she touched the ground, she stumbled slightly, her strength wavering. Alex caught her arm, steadying her. "We have to keep moving," Alara said, her voice strained. "We can't stay here." They hurried through the fields, the sound of the aliens' voices growing faint as they put distance between themselves and the barn. Alara's heart pounded in her chest, but she knew they couldn't stop yet. They had to get to a place where they could regroup and figure out what to do next. "I'm sorry," Alara said, breaking the silence as they ran. "I never wanted to drag you into this." Alex glanced at her, his expression soft. "Alara, you didn't drag me into anything. I chose to help you. I knew the risks." "But I'm not human," Alara said, her voice full of guilt. "Don't have to be part of this. I don't want to put you in danger." "I'm already in danger," Alex said with a small smile. "Being with you doesn't change that, but I won't leave you. You're not alone anymore." Alara looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. She had always been a princess, surrounded by people who only wanted something from her. But Alex had never asked for anything. He had shown her kindness, friendship, and loyalty when she had nothing left to offer. They reached the edge of the forest, where the trees thinned out and a small river flowed quietly nearby. They stopped for a moment to catch their breath, and Alara took a seat on a large rock, her body still trembling from the strain of using her powers. "We need to figure out what to do next," Alex said, pacing. "We can't keep running forever." Alara nodded. "They won't stop coming for me." They'll keep searching until they find me. When they do, they'll bring more. Alex stopped pacing and turned to her. Then we'll have to fight back. We have to make a stand. Ilara hesitated. She had spent her entire life running from her enemies, avoiding confrontation. But something inside her had shifted. She wasn't that person anymore. She couldn't keep hiding, not when she had the strength to fight for herself and for Alex. You're right, she said, standing up. I won't run anymore. I will fight. Alex gave her a proud smile. I knew you. Had it in you? Ilara felt a sense of resolve settle over her. She had the power within her, and now, for the first time in years, she was ready to use it. She wasn't a servant. She wasn't a princess in hiding. She was Ilara, and she would fight for her. Freedom. We'll need to find a way to stop them, Ilara said, looking out over the river. I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. You can't let them take me more, you. Alex nodded. We'll figure it out together. The sky above them was darkening, the stars beginning to twinkle in the distance. As the night fell, Ilara felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. For the first time since she had arrived on Earth, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The fight wasn't over, but Ilara wasn't afraid anymore. With Alex by her side, she knew she had a chance to win. The night was cold as Ilara and Alex made their way deeper into the forest. The stars above glistened like distant lanterns, their light barely breaking through the thick canopy of trees. They had been running for hours, but neither of them spoke. The sounds of their footsteps were the only noise that filled the silence, each step echoing in the quiet night. Ilara's mind was racing. The aliens were still out there, searching for her. She knew they wouldn't stop until they had her. And even though she had fought back once, she knew the threat they posed was far from over. She had always believed that running was the only option. But with each passing day, she had begun to realize that running wasn't enough anymore. She couldn't keep hiding forever. She had to make a choice. Alex glanced at her, his face tired but determined. We need to find shelter for the night, he said, his voice low. You should rest. Ilara nodded, but she didn't feel tired. Ah! Her mind was too occupied with the decisions she had to make. She had come so far from the frightened princess who had begged for help on Earth. She had grown stronger, not just physically, but in her heart, and now she had to decide if she would continue to run from her past or face it head-on. We can't keep running, Alex, she said, her voice steady. I can't keep running. Alex stopped walking and turned to her. Do you mean? Ilara took a deep breath, her chest tight with the weight of her words. I've been running for so long, from the war, from my past, from everything, but I can't do it anymore, I won't. Alex's expression softened. He knew Ilara had changed since they first met. She wasn't the broken, desperate alien princess anymore. She had become someone stronger, someone who was ready to fight for herself. So what will you do? Alex asked, his voice gentle. What's your plan? I don't know, Ilara admitted. But I know one thing. I can't let them take me back. I won't go back to that life. Alex nodded. Then we'll fight. We'll figure it out together. Ilara looked at him, a sense of peace settling in her heart. In that moment, she realized that she wasn't alone. She had someone who cared about her, someone who was willing to stand by her no matter what. And for the first time since her crash, she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. We'll need to find a way to stop them, Ilara said, her voice full of resolve. I don't know how yet, but I will figure it out. Alex smiled at her. We'll figure it out together. They found a small clearing by a stream, the moonlight filtering through the trees and casting soft shadows on the ground. Ilara sat down on the grass, her legs aching from the long run, but her mind was clear. She was ready to face whatever came next. Alex sat down beside her, his hand resting on hers. What's your plan, Ilara? How do we fight back? Ilara thought for a moment. I still have my abilities. The aliens think I've forgotten how to use them, but I haven't. I've just been afraid of them. Alex looked at her, surprised. You can use your powers against them? Ilara nodded. I can, but it's not just about power. It's about strategy. I can create barriers, control energy, and use the elements. but I need to understand the weaknesses of the aliens. I need to know more about them, their technology, and their intentions. Alex looked thoughtful. We need information. Maybe we can find a way to learn more about them. Lara's mind raced with possibilities. Yes. We'll need to find someone who can help us. Someone who knows what the aliens are capable of. Someone who can teach us how to fight back. Alex's expression shifted, a look of determination in his eyes. Where do we start? Lara stood up, her heart racing with the excitement of having a plan. She had no idea what the future held, but for the first time, she felt in control. We start by finding answers. We find out who is behind this, and we make them pay for everything they've taken from me. They stood in the clearing, the night quiet around them, but Alara felt a surge of strength she hadn't felt in years. She was no longer a servant, no longer a princess hiding in the shadows. She was Alara, and she was ready to fight. The next morning, Alara and Alex set out for a nearby town. It was a small place, but it was a starting point. They needed supplies, but more importantly, they needed information. As they walked into the town, Alara felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was the first step in a new chapter of her life. As they entered the town's small market, they saw a man selling maps and old books. Alex approached him, and after some brief conversation, they were able to gather information about the area and any rumors about alien activity. Alara scanned the map, her eyes searching for anything that might lead them to answers. Suddenly, something caught her eye: an old symbol, carved into the side of a mountain, not far from the town. Looked like the markings she had seen on the aliens' ships, the same ones that had followed her across the stars. Alara, look at this, Alex said, pointing to the map. This symbol, it's the same one from the ship. You think it's connected? Alara's heart raced as she studied the map. Yes, this could be it. This could be where the answers are. They didn't waste any time. They gathered their supplies and set off toward the mountain, ready to face whatever came next. They were no longer running from their past. They were facing it head-on, together. And as they walked toward the unknown, Alara knew that she had made the right choice. She had the power to change her future, and with Alex by her side, there was nothing she couldn't overcome.